Please welcome to the stage Managing Director at Accenture, Susan Lynch.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to welcome you to today's discussion on how utilities are tackling some of the industry's most pressing challenges and how Itron's innovations are helping lead the way forward. I'm Susan Lynch, Managing Director at Accenture, and I'll be your moderator for this panel. For the past 30 years, Accenture has been working side by side with electric, gas, and water utilities around the world, helping them navigate the profound changes reshaping our industry, from accelerating the energy transition and modernizing infrastructure to driving digital transformation and improving customer experience. Currently, I have the privilege of working with Ameren, leading their customer transformation program. And in that, our customer is challenging us to help them solve their largest business outcomes, pressing for more and more automation and AI. As we are being challenged to look across the value chain from meter to cash, no longer looking at isolated applications. And achieving that vision takes collaboration, and that's where partners like Itron play such a critical role. Today, we'll explore how Itron solutions are addressing the real-world challenges that utilities face every day, enabling grid flexibility and reliability as renewable generation grows, advancing gas safety and operational excellence, and using data and analytics to detect leaks, reduce losses, and improve efficiency across water networks. We'll also look at how innovation is sensing connectivity and outcome-based insights and how that will shape the utility operations and communities that we serve. Joining me for this conversation are two leaders from Itron who are deeply engaged in that work. Ty Roberts, Vice President of Product Marketing for Network Solutions, and Stefan Zschiegner, Vice President of Product Management for Outcomes. Please join me in welcoming Ty and Stefan. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As we begin our discussion, let's start with the electric industry, where the pace of change is faster than ever. Utilities are balancing a complex mix of challenges. And a great example of where Accenture is leading the way right now is Xcel Energy. Accenture and Xcel Energy have partnered on their AMI 2.0 program, which is part of their Advanced Grid Intelligence Initiative. Serving 4 million electric utilities and 2 million gas utilities, the goal was a smarter, more reliable grid ready for clean energy. We helped deliver 6 next-gen AMI releases, enabled over 80 use cases, updated business processes, giving customers real-time access to their meter. As a result, Xcel Energy is recognized as a next-gen AMI leader with improved grid reliability and operational efficiency. Ty, let's start with you. From your perspective, how are Itron's network solutions helping utilities like Xcel Energy meet the demands of this evolving grid?
Well, so Xcel is a good example for us because they have, from a telecommunications perspective, like many large IOUs, huge investments in fiber optics that they've been laying out. They're looking at lots of investment, obviously, in last mile networking technologies, which they're buying from Itron for smart grid, especially with the mesh network. And they also have a strategy to roll out their own private cellular network. So there's a lot of work that we've been doing with them and how to bring these technologies together. where to use which, and especially sort of looking out over the next 20 years. The thing that's certain is that their strategy and the economics of enabling different business cases and use cases is going to evolve over time. So having a platform for them that's able to incorporate cellular, that's able to incorporate mesh and be flexible to provide the right level of connectivity at the right spot in their network for the right use case is incredibly important. So that's a huge part of where we've been collaborating. But of course, all of that is really in service of the business value and the use cases that they're intent on driving, which is, I think, where, Stefan, you can probably speak to that especially.
Yeah, so Excel Energy as an example is a great, it's actually a very good example. When we go back to the beginning, clearly they recognized in order to achieve the modern grid requirements and challenges of, increasing weather changes or demand on the grid, that they need to incorporate not only in a change and engaging with the customer, the consumer, while also improving their demand response and engagement, load flexibility programs, as well as increasing reliability of the distribution grid. So clearly, when we worked with them and other leading utilities like Tampa Electric, that is here in Florida, and others, on our Grid Edge Intelligence platform, DI, it was clear that first we had to work through a lot of technology platform maturity challenges. And as we engaged with them through that journey of maturing, it became clear that we needed to really kind of package and bundle multiple applications together to deliver a business outcome. And as we are moving to these business outcomes, we have now, over the last year, basically consolidated our Grid Edge Intelligence solution to the business value and the workflows and use cases that are really relevant. And they fall into three areas. One is grid reliability, and you see advanced grid reliability examples in our knowledge center here, and we'll talk more about that. The second bucket is DERMS, and how we really evolve DERMS and leverage the infrastructure we put in place. And the last one is really the consumer engagement, which was key for Excel Energy, for example.
Awesome. Anything else, Don?
Yeah, I think that to pick up on what Stefan noted, there's, especially when we started our journey with Excel, which was 5 years ago at this point, more actually, and they had the foresight to recognize that they needed to buy for the future, and they were one of the first of our utility customers looking at an AMI system that needed to be more than just meter to cash. One of our early adopter customers in this regard, without really understanding what the use cases were and the business cases were around a grid edge intelligence approach, they realized that we're making an investment now that's going to need to last us for the next 20 years. So what are the capabilities in the platform itself that we need to implement in order to realize that value? Which it's, in one hand, they were fortunate in that they were deploying an AMI system for the first time, so they could claim all those benefits of automation and digitization of the sort of the meter reading process and the meter to cash process. But they also recognized that they needed more going forward in the long term. And I think we've been catching up in many ways, as you noted, really figuring out how to articulate the business value of a distributed approach, especially looking at grid resiliency, especially looking at, we've had lots of discussions throughout the day, and Stefan and I were part of an executive roundtable with a number of utilities participating with our own leadership team at Itron, calling out that this is the first time in a generation where there's actually load growth on the energy network, on the distribution network. It's happened before, but most of the leaders and the folks running and operating utilities today haven't experienced this before. So the whole concept of there's no way possible that a utility can invest and deploy the capital to implement technology, actually not even technology, but sort of the poles and wires to catch up and be able to support the demand that's being asked of them because of data centers and hyperscalers, et cetera, being injected into their network. But there has to be another way to solve that challenge of increasing capacity of what they've already deployed. So that's a huge use case, obviously, that we've been focused on.
Absolutely. So when we look at the first area of resiliency, we really look at this now from two aspects, right? One is the outage and how to improve the outage management. We realized that AMI 1.0 has not delivered on all the promises to really help utilities to address the outage challenges in a significant enough way. It's still there. It's still a priority investment for every single utility in North America to improve their safety ratings, to reduce the outage minutes, and in the response side as well as in the prevention side with increasing and leveraging the capacity, be it enabling load growth or more integration of DERs that are out there, EV, batteries, water heaters, you name it, and the electrification continues. So if we look at these, I want to point out a couple of use cases specifically that we see are really drivers at this point. So when you look at outage, when we look at the different applications we have put together, we realize with our working directly with our utility partners that we need to really kind of figure out how do we narrow the distribution of in the restoration and the response time? How do we provide real-time visibility into what's on and what's off at any moment of time and leverage the DI capabilities of real-time monitoring of the endpoints, the low voltage grid, the loading, in order to provide that visibility at any given time and have exactly pinpoint this. And we calculated with many of the operational benefits that then translate into the business case. And this example is if you can reduce your restoration by just 5 minutes or 3 minutes because you can figure out exactly where to set the controls, where to basically run the field crews in the right locations and basically restore faster. Right there you can create, in a predictable way, you can create tangible benefits that are improving safety, but also hard costs such as O&M cost reduction as one example. The other one is on the capacity side is that you can see some of our continuous work with GE Vernova, as well as Schneider Electric as examples in our knowledge center and in some of the presentation. What we are really working on is the integration of the data from the edge, the grid edge data, together into typically the data fabrics in order to combine this with the SCADA data or power flow analysis so that you can correlate the deltas in order to enable better decision-making in the control room. This part of collaboration on integration is now taking technology at the edge into improving a whole business process around better VVO management, better power flow analysis and response, not only from an operational, but maybe also from a planning perspective. So these are the kind of use cases that help us then to showcase on how we improve grid resiliency. And we have done this work now with a couple of utilities. We are layering on basically dashboard and analytics that provide the insights on top of the DI applications, and we'll plan to release this early next year, that allow to take action and have confidence in exactly where the outages is when. And it integrates not only the DI data, but also the current existing ponds and existing information that you have out of the AMI system. So we're excited about bringing this together into the next level to make these use cases more accessible. And we see moving forward, I think this morning, Tom talked about this briefly, about the idea to look at anomalies at the edge, using waveform anomaly detection. That's another use case that I feel is very exciting. And we have some work done this year already with some early pilots to demonstrate how detecting anomalies can help, for example, predict failures by looking at precursors together with some analytics software in order to integrate this. And we have partners that we're collaborating with to showcase the benefit of bringing basically the meter as a grid sensor together with analytics software that can look at top-down feeder-based information, SCADA-based information, and bottom-up using the meter as a sensor. Now, when you look at this from an analytics perspective and provide that insight into the control room or into the planning process, you can now see how this can help you with vegetation improvements or with work here. And so that would be an example where we have multiple partnerships that are really helping us on making the grid sensor better and to making the reliability better. And we can see some customers that we're working with to sign up and say, like, look, with a normal SCADA-based reliability approach, I can improve 5 to 7% of SAIDI and safely by reducing the outage by better prevention, et cetera, instrumenting and leveraging the instruments in the distribution grid more efficiently. But if I use the AMI data on top, I can not only see the resolution of where the outage is and where the cause of the fault is, to like, 1 or 2 or 3 transformers or 3 locations. I can pinpoint it to a single one, to a single structure, and that gives me the possibility to reduce and faster reduce the outage time. So we're very excited about this emerging capability. We expect that we will do more pilots of that combined with our partners early next year, and then see that we bring this to market in a broader way. So clearly new technology, leveraging the platform you have already put in place in many cases, so the future is very exciting for us.
I'll do maybe a little plug too for some products.
Okay.
You can do the same. So I'm sure many of you have seen last week we announced the launch of our Gen 6 networking platform. You guys who have been with Itron or been following us or been partners with us for a long time will be very aware that at this event and others like it, we've talked a lot about the concept of distributed intelligence over the last several years, and how many devices we have deployed today, how many customers we have actually using it. The thing that's exciting for me and our team about the launch of Gen 6 is that one of the huge components of that, or the major components of that, is that we've taken really that engine, the software engine on the meter platform that we've brought to market at this point with inside our grid edge intelligence devices, and put that in a form factor, a NIC form factor, basically, where we can now be flexible with the communications that we use on that device. So our first launch is with our own our Gen 6 mesh protocol. But at the same time, we're going to be launching a cellular variant of that too. So taking it back to Excel Energy, where we really started. Excel and other customers like them who are implementing either their own private cellular networks or want to have cellular connectivity as an option for when they're trying to address different parts of their service territory, that now that's a capability we have. So we can have a NIC that has our DI environment on it, flexible communications that we're putting into our own next generation device, but we can also put into other people's devices. So collaboration we're doing right now with Aclara, for example, to put it into their meter. There's going to be others that are following that, and other kinds of devices that we can also sort of bring into that tent too, because we realize it's more than just Itron that's going to really be able to realize this vision. We need to have, whether it's device vendors, software vendors, application vendors, it's a whole ecosystem end to end to really be able to realize the kind of use case enablement and the business cases that we all need to drive and that we've been talking about. So that's an exciting piece that we're glad that you guys are here to see it and learn about it as well.
Yeah, I think the exciting part of some of this technology is that it allows us to not only the use case around outage and reliability I just mentioned. Many of them actually our customers that have started with a greenfield initiative are realizing that they can accelerate the value with a brownfield type effort. Meaning, how can I accelerate the business value by actually populating very strategically these devices in the field? So some of them, like Excel, have already completed their deployment, but there are some others that are in the middle or early stage, and they're like, okay, instead of waiting for a 5-year deployment cycle, or in some cases where it's more brownfield activity, where maybe over time the transition to the new technology may take more than 5 years, how do I get the business value faster? And I think cellular and the Gen X will help us dramatically to help us to do brownfield deployment. Some of these use cases we talked about, like anomaly detection and analytics maybe deployed on just a transformer level, spokesmeter-wise, could accelerate the value, potentially by years, to provide the business value. And that is an exciting element for us to look at an end-to-end solution here.
Right, because the utility doesn't need to do a full rip and replace of their whole entire, their meter fleet and transition from AMI1 to AMI2 right away. They're going to do that over time. And we talked this morning about, you guys have seen, there's some utilities are looking at really their return on investment coming over the course of many 5, 6, 7 years as a way of let's stage out the investment, the spend that we have to make in order to recognize the value, and not being able to invest in it sort of all in, swallowing the elephant all at once.
Right, right. Awesome. Well, let's move on to the gas sector. Gas utilities are under increasing pressure to enhance safety, reduce emissions, and modernize infrastructure, all while preparing for a more integrated, lower carbon energy future. Ty, I'll turn it back to you. How are Itron's networked gas solutions helping utilities improve safety and resilience while supporting their decarbonization strategies?
Yeah, and this is also from last year at Inspire at this event, we had our first ever gas executive leadership roundtable where we had leaders from gas utilities joining leaders from Itron, really talking about the state of the industry and the challenges that they were facing. And what came across so very clearly is that it's an incredibly difficult environment for gas utilities to be operating in, because they're getting, I think the number one thing that came across for me especially was it's the mixed messages that they're getting from various stakeholders and regulators, multiple stages, multiple levels within their jurisdiction. So yes, there's absolutely, safety is always number one when you're talking about gas distribution. The infrastructure itself is aging, so assurance and security of supply, incredibly important, and being able to upgrade the pipe assets in order to ensure that security and consistency of the delivery. They're seeing, despite predictions to the contrary, there's an actual growth year over year in the US especially, and actually North America in general, of gas connections and gas usage. It's 3% year over year growth. So it's not shrinking, it's not contracting. So putting in more pipe and extending the distribution networks is something that's happening. All while no one wants any of this to be happening in their own backyard. So upgrading of infrastructure involves digging and disruption, and whenever gas is involved, people are concerned about it. Utilities talked about the challenges of getting permitting to be able to even undertake capital programs. So access to capital and then actually being able to execute the projects to use it and to spend it and to get the value from it, incredibly challenging for gas utilities. So I think where we've been focused as Itron especially is a lot of the same concepts of distributed intelligence, that notion of being able to detect more occurrences of disruption at the edge, of safety conditions at the edge of the network, in consumers' homes especially, building that capability into the devices themselves so that you can, in real time, have the device understand, am I in an overpressure situation? Is the temperature increasing around me such that there might be a fire within the premise that obviously you don't want that coming in contact with natural gas. And just the rate of flow, is the flow rate into the premise higher than it should be right now, suggesting that maybe something's broken inside the home or there's something malicious going on. Being able to identify those cases and to take action immediately, so this is not, hey, there's something wrong, I've detected that there's a problem here, somebody should probably come and fix that. Having the endpoints, the devices, in this case it's the IntelliSmeters for Itron, actually be able to take action right away and close the valve to the home or to the premise whenever those conditions are detected. So that's really step one, is turning, in the sort of the old days for gas utilities, so much of the data that they collected from an AMR system was used for forensic analysis. After a reportable event has happened, after there's been a fire, an explosion, or something terrible has happened, why did it happen? Who is at fault? Who caused it? Obviously important from an insurance perspective, but when you're talking about people, loss of life and billions of dollars of damage, you need to prevent that. So us investing in technology that actually prevents those reportable cases from happening is hugely important. But I think an ancillary benefit of that is there's so much more information that we're sensing now at the edge that we can bring into the back office to really help utilities optimize their operations and to help prioritize capital spend.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think when we look at this in our gas business, the issues are clear, right? It's the same. We have a aging infrastructure. We have a changing workforce. And the path out of that is really leveraging this Intellis platform as clearly the first use case is safety related. But and we are super excited about the progress we have made to develop and deploy this solution end to end now, and are ready to scale this up with more and more customers. So I think the progress over the last couple of years to bring not only the AMI infrastructure into the utility, but also this use case so that we can clearly show the end-to-end value on the safety side is critical as a foundation. But now, as you pointed out, now we can take this platform to really make it a more data-driven distribution infrastructure. And we have clearly identified the flow measurement and leveraging the flow measurement, the pressure management in order to monitor the system at the edge is the next step to really start to help the utility to manage the distribution in a data-driven way. And we're looking for that. And then clearly this platform on the MI side is being opened up to add other sensors and other use cases on top of the data. So we're looking forward to work with our partners and customers on that journey in the gas side where we see lots of opportunity.
Right, and I think that's where I know in talking with a lot of gas leaders, especially at gas utilities, being a bit self-conscious that, well, this is something that their electric brethren went through 12, 15 years ago in terms of digitization autonomously or reading devices over the air, the amount of data that's coming in from the field and the awareness that can create of their distribution network. But honestly, it's a fantastic time to start it now, because I think as we all know who've gone through AMI deployments with electric, especially going back 10, 15 more years, there was a lot of data was generated, but not a lot of value was created out of that. Business cases were met, absolutely, for AMI 1.0, and so much of the value came from being able to redeploy the spend used for meter reading into other things, because it's a workforce now that you can leverage for other more valuable outcomes. But the tools to actually get value, extract the value from the data itself, took time to develop. And frankly, the gas industry doesn't have to wait at this point. I think especially when looking at partners of ours who are building AI-based analytics, looking at being able to do risk modeling on pipes, for example, in their delivery infrastructure, utilities being able to identify these are the assets, the pipe assets that are going to fail within the next 6 months. It's time to go do something about it. That if you can prioritize those assets and you can tell by the data that you're using to deliver the commodity, to use that as a giant sensing engine to understand where you need to make pinpoint investments, so that when you have to go through the process of securing capital, when you have to go through the trouble of figuring out how you're going to actually get the permits allocated to you to actually do the work, you know that it's important work to be done, and you can target that and do it where it needs to be made.
And I think the common theme here is like also here where we have started to see that we need to look at the end-to-end workflows and business processes to help optimize those with the data we bring in, and realize that there's a transition change management that we need to partner and enable with in order to really deliver the business value and engage in that journey. Same on the gas side, because I think there's so much opportunity here.
Yeah, I agree.
Wonderful. Well, of course, these challenges are not unique to electric and gas utilities. Water utilities are also facing mounting pressure from aging infrastructure and increasing demand to drought, leakage, and growing impacts of climate change. Ensuring every drop counts has never been more important. A great example of innovation in action comes from American Water, the largest publicly traded water and wastewater utility company in the United States, serving millions of customers across more than a dozen states. American Water is deeply committed to sustainability and operational excellence. To meet these goals, the company is deploying Itron's advanced metering and analytics solutions to gain real-time visibility into its water distribution systems. By leveraging data from connected meters and sensors, they're not just reacting to problems, they're predicting them, prioritizing maintenance and making smarter investment decisions that improve resilience and reliability. It's a great example of how digital innovation and operational insight can come together to build sustainable water futures. Stefan, let's bring you back. From your perspective, how are Itron's outcome-based water solutions helping utilities like American Water achieve both operational excellence and environmental stewardship?
Yes, Susan, thank you for the question. So for us, the engagement in water end-to-end solution is really critical because this AMI transition is accelerating across the country and the world actually in water to provide the insights and that other verticals already have enjoyed for a while. But in water, it's a little different. It's because we have clearly the diversity. There's some large utilities here pointed out, like American Water, that are really mission critical, and there's a few of our partners here that are leading these large utilities that are our partners here. But there's a lot of smaller utilities that really require this transition and are looking for something that's easy to deploy, an AMI solution that is delivered in a reliable, predictable way and with high confidence, because clearly they don't have the resources in-house in order to deal with the complexity of some of the solutions that we have, that some of the large utilities can deal with. So what we really focused on here is how to make it really predictable and easy and simple. We continue to look at this operational approach to make AMI accessible to all and start to kind of make our solutions more and more efficient so that even the smallest utilities can start to engage here. And what we realized is, as we went through this journey, that just delivering AMI clearly creates a lot of operational benefits. And as you know, Ty, right, there's a lot we can do, but it's not just that, it goes beyond that.
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah, exactly. I think, and this is where, similar to with gas utilities who are starting their digitization journey now, I think the same advantages exist for water utilities now. Because again, you're not going to begin accruing a mountain of data in your back office that creates cost because you've got to store it and manage it from that point, but you can get much more value from it now than you could have 10, 12 years ago. So I think the same concept of what we've seen, and actually there's a report that AWWA releases every year, but the most recent one for 2024 called out that 41% of water utilities don't have clear line of sight to the capital that they're going to need over the next 10 years to be able to upgrade their systems and their networks. So clearly what that says to us is, just like with the gas example of being able, yes, you're going to use data and automated metering to automate your meter to cash process, but I think the real gold mine and the value for water utilities is being able to use that same information. Again, this is where applying AI analytics to it to be able to do risk modeling of points of failure within that network. If you're layering in sensors beyond just the meters at the end of the network, but looking for leaks and so leak sensing capabilities, layering all that in together, enabling a water utility to pinpoint where the parts of their network that are degrading fastest need to be replaced the quickest, without having to wait until there's a leak on the street and you're getting calls from homeowners that something is wrong, that there's a leak is sprung. Being able to proactively deal with that, so it's not an emergency situation. You're actually planning it as part of an upgrade strategy. It's not using overtime and on weekends, et cetera. But being able to pinpoint where to make those investments is going to help with that 41% problem of only 41% of utilities, again, knowing where they're going to get the money to be able to upgrade their networks and their infrastructure. So the data, again, is going to be so valuable, and being able to leverage it for more than just meter to cash is essential.
With having said this, our Temetra solution is really evolved over the last few years as we introduced it to the North American market to provide the connectivity but then also the data in order to unlock some of these use cases. So what we have focused on first in this, over the last few years, to really help our customers in the transition in the water industry for their legacy and other Itron or non-Itron solutions to come over to standardize on that hosted solution that is very easy to deploy and easy to use. And we really looked at how do we add more use cases to that. So one of the things is we really kind of, when you look at this here, we have improved wastewater management. We're looking at water conservation and adding water balance capabilities in here in order to monitor the flow and any leakage and deal with this on a macro level or on a distribution system level in a more effective way. And these solutions are now coming out, and you can see them as we kind of in an agile world, once you are in the platform, can really enable that step by step. Now, the other nice part is we have this year taken a partner solution, an AI solution that exactly does this pipe asset management and really looking on proactive and preventive maintenance, and really took it into and integrated it. So based on the great results we have with one of our customers, we've now started to bring this forward in a few utilities in this year, and are looking forward to the deployment early next year to drive that water AI integration forward and really show to the industry how you can combine the transition to AMI with real data outputs, real use cases out of the box, and demonstrate that you not only get the operational benefits, but you can actually broaden it within your own utilities in your own utility to bring in other departments and broaden this as part of your digital transformation. So I think we're very excited about that journey that is just starting in many of our customers.
And the other place, because you called it out, I think that this is a very different market for us, in that the vast majority of the water systems in the country are owned by municipalities. So these are small organizations, small shops, where they don't have the expertise or the capability to manage large, complex systems. And I think also called out in that same AWWA report that I mentioned is that a third of the water utility workforce in the US is set to retire within the next 6 years. So there's a huge challenge with sort of loss of tribal knowledge within water utilities, and challenges on recruiting people to actually replace them. So we've heard examples of some of our customers who their primary motivation to launching an AMI tender and going to market for an AMI solution is because they couldn't employ enough meter readers to read meters to issue invoices anymore. So automation is being driven for a lot of these utilities just because they have to make life simpler for themselves. They have to take intensive, people-intensive jobs and automate them to as great a degree as they can. They're not losing, sacrificing jobs really. They just can't get enough people to hire to do the work. So I think the other place that plays out for us and our two teams, and for Itron in general especially, is making sure that we're easier to do business with. So we've been spending a lot of time on process improvements, technology investments that enable process improvements. We know that we have to be able to set up hosted environments much faster. We have to make the security paradigm, which is essential for us to make sure that these devices end-to-end are secure, but make that easier for our customers to consume, for our channel partners to be able to deliver to their customers. So lots of focus that we've had just on ease of doing business.
Yeah, and I think that's as we progressed on that, on the pure water utilities, we also recognize that we have a lot of customers that actually run multiple verticals, right? So not only water. And so we have started to enable, with American Water and others, where we see not only water, but you need to look at water and gas. And that's kind of the next frontier for us to integrate. And then, of course, the electricity, the ones that have a next. And how do you bring them on forward in a common way that makes it easy for our customers to do? So I think we're still working through the journey here right now to really bring this out. But I think the water and gas, I think we're pretty far along to really get this figured out. But then the electrical integration is coming next over the next 1 to 2 years.
That's right. And I'll do one more plug for Gen 6, which again we launched last week.
See, it was a setup for that.
It's perfect. We didn't plan that; it just happened. Is that for the first time we're going to have on with one headed system and a common infrastructure the ability to deploy electric, gas, water with mesh, with battery mesh, and with cellular, so that it's that flexibility that's going to be ultra important. Because we also know that many of the smaller municipalities and cities, they just don't have the people power or the desire to manage their own private network. So using public cellular, like Verizon is a fantastic partner of ours, for example, is the best option for them, whether that's gas, electric, or water. So that flexibility is hugely important.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you both so much. Well, we've heard today from both of you about the challenges facing electric, gas, and water utilities that are complex and evolving, but the opportunities are just as powerful. Ty, may I ask you please to walk us through where the future is for Itron?
Yeah, so this, I think this is a really important view for us, this picture, because this really shows an aggregate level our platform really end to end, from connectivity all the way through outcome realization with data management in the middle. But it's the capabilities that Stefan and I have been talking about, especially over the last several years, whether it's gas, electric, or water, as I'm hoping you're hearing from us and hearing from others at the conference, is that you're irrespective of what commodity you're responsible for delivering, the challenges are so similar. So for us, what's been so important is building a platform that provides flexibility in terms of communications. It provides flexibility in terms of the different kinds of devices from different vendors that you're going to integrate into the solution, the right tool to solve the problem, but doing that commonly and holistically, so that if you are especially a combo utility, like Stefan was just mentioning, that you invest in the platform once and you get to reuse it over and over. Connectivity all the way up through data and the outcome generation.
Yeah, I want to point out a few examples. So when we actually started this journey, I mean, I think, not only you as utilities, also Itron, over time has grown together based on many applications that were often islands, and we had to integrate with our own products. So over the last 5 years, we really pre-integrated and standardized and now building our applications on the same common platform. Not only from a networking point of view, but also when you look at the center, this edge operating system is a common data platform that allows us just to really accelerate our development, but also our partners' development. It's an open platform. What we realize, we need to have standards-based integration and openness on every single layer. Because at the end of the day, the name of the game is about bringing disparate systems together into end-to-end business solutions. And that's your challenge and it's our challenge. We know that you have existing systems. We know you have existing systems that you want to connect or improve, where you may have some automation here, but your one process step is still built on Excel spreadsheets, which clearly, or paper. So how to bring all this together is, I think, one of the key challenges of our industry. So as we built this platform, we made sure it's open on every single layer, building or integrating new devices into the same networking layer, opening up the head ends and the platform for others to consume the data, for other applications downstream to use the data for other analytics that may be done by your own teams or other partners, or to ingest data from other systems such as SCADA systems or EV chargers, you name your water heaters, you name the system. How do we integrate all that data either from a device level, from a network level, from a cloud level, and then also bring the data out to other applications? So we truly look at this as a standards-based open platform that people can use to really build end-to-end workflows for your solution and leverage what you have and what you want to augment. And you will see this in when you go through the different updates that we give, that every year we make progress and we're striving to make progress to really deliver this end-to-end workflows that deliver a real business outcome. And that's the platform that we built this on.
Awesome. Well, before we wrap up, we'd love to open it up for some questions. This is your chance to share what's happening at your own organization or to dive deeper into any of the strategies that we've discussed today. And I believe we have a couple of mics at the front.
We have a brave soul to be the first one. There we go.
Hi, thank you so much for sharing your insights. One question I have, clearly AI is going to be a problem with regards to energy load, but it could also be seen as a solution too. Can you talk a little bit about what Itron is doing with regards to AI, and what is your framework for prioritizing your product roadmap applying AI?
Okay.
Yeah, so I think there's a whole list of things, that activities we are doing now, of course, within our company, but also for our customers. And we realize that there are challenges in adopting this. But one of the first steps in any discussion about AI is the foundation that you need to trust the data. And that we bring forward data that you can trust, data that can be used downstream. And we actually, not only Itron itself, but also with our partners, we're trying to work on data schemas, data models, integrations that are providing this robust foundation. And we also work more and more figure out that we clearly need to help with our partnerships to help us, okay, what's the trusted source of data as the foundation for any AI you want to apply. We see that basically, when you look at this middle layer that I shared in the last slide, we basically have the foundation of that we want to enable the workflows where we see AI adoption the earliest. As Itron, when you look at our products, we have actually some of our products and solutions have started to work with machine learning and AI for many years. Some go back 10, 20 years in terms of looking at forecasting models or grid planning models, things like that as opportunities for leveraging AI. In some other areas where we don't have potentially the SME or the vertical expertise, we make the data and bring partners together. We talked about Voda AI for pipe leak management, for example, in order to augment our solutions and bring in the expertise. We just, you saw our announcement with Gordian to turn our waveforms into more, to make our grid sensor better to detect out of the 30 kilohertz waveforms that come out of the reverb meter, which ones are the waveforms that really matter to your application, and do a better event and classifications. And we're starting to work with partners like Turmetis that basically do the analysis on the backside and turn and correlate the events that we have out of AMI, out of our reverb meter platform, and correlate that with the data that come out of SCADA. And look at the comparison and then run AI on this in order to detect where are your precursors to the next, fault location in your distribution system, or where are your assets that are starting to go out of end of life. So I think there's a lot of things. We use it use case by use case, where we look at then how do we bring the data together, what can we do to accelerate that. I think we also, one area to mention that we haven't mentioned yet much is in the discussion is the consumer engagement side. So clearly we have done a lot of work over the last few years with load disaggregation in order to better understand the consumer and what their behavior is and who are the right targets. So we see now relatively widespread adoption of leveraging load disaggregation, which is done and optimized with AI in order to increase the certainty that you have the load disaggregation done correctly. But now the next layer is how to use the data to understand better where are your hotspots in your weak circuits, where are your better situations where you have a lot of load growth, and understand the behaviors to either target these consumers into better programs, understand the resource efficiency that could come out of that. So this is a hot area of AI adoption as well, in order to then feed into a demand response or DERMS programs, including Itron's IntelliFlex solution.
The only thing I'd add to that is I think where obviously we feel we have differentiated capabilities is looking at the edge and the data that's being generated in the field. And so we announced, it was last year about this time, I think, the collaboration with NVIDIA, where we've been doing research on how to leverage distributed AI engines that we can feed with information from devices in the field, starting with electric and really waveform anomaly analysis, where we can channel that information to an engine, a much more capable engine in the field that can then, I think, help us improve some of the analysis that we are doing within applications at the very edge. Because there's going to be, and there is, variation based on the neighborhood, based on the topology of the network, that is going to be important to really tune and improve all of these algorithms that we've got running in every single device in the field. So
yeah, that's a really good add-on, because what we see here is obviously as a journey, right? What we do today is we are learning, and many of these AI algorithms we work with learn in the back office, and then we're starting to deploy the inference model down to the meter today. So our DI applications are doing this today at scale. But clearly, the evolution of this, how do you bring more and more of this learning at the edge? And I think at the end, we truly believe if you need to be able, in the end game, to do local decision making in order to solve the local problems that are right there. And I think we are consistent in working towards this vision.
Yes. Anyone else?
there's mics up
There's
here,
one right
too.
there.
Hello? Great, yeah, it works. So given the announcement of the partnership with Aclara, with the Gen 6 network, are you also making plans to make this technology available to other meter manufacturers or other partner technology providers, specifically North America? And then the second part of the question is, where do you see the adoption of DLMS COSM in the ANSI form factor specifically?
Great. Okay. I can take both of those. So I'll maybe do the second one first. So as Itron, so these are sort of metering related questions. So DLMS COSM is a protocol that's been a metering protocol in the standard that's been most popular outside of North America. But we decided as Itron about 10 years ago at this point that we were going to standardize on DLMS COSM within all of our meters. So, and today, the next generation of the device that we're launching, internally we call this hardware 5. You guys have probably heard of this to some degree, but it's the same firmware set that we use in our international meters as we use in our ANSI North American meters, using DLMS COSM as the standard. And so we've been involved in the DLMS User Association for a very long time at with leadership roles. We are very strong advocates of using the concept of a generic companion profile, which the DLMS User Association defines, which this is how standard use cases are executed. So a device that implements their firmware using that protocol and a head-end system that also uses that same protocol can be very much plug and play. So that's something that we have adopted ourselves, both in our head-end system and in our own device. But we've been promoting that same concept with others as well. So it doesn't have to. We can integrate, and we have integrated meters that use many different kinds of protocols, standard and otherwise. But that certainly makes integration much quicker, faster to do, much safer, more certainty of what the use case outcome is going to be. Its life is better in that regard. And the first question was related to the integration of our DI-NIC platform to bring distributed intelligence into different kinds of devices. So I noted before, and you called out that Aclara is our first partner in that regard, which we're very excited to bring to market. But yes, we have plans to expand beyond just Aclara. So both within North America and internationally, globally as well. That's a key part of our strategy.
You have time for a couple more.
The level of bravery is increasing. No judgment. No?
Well, if there's nothing else, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you all so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we'll be around afterwards if anyone has any questions.
Thank you.